Am I the a-hole for my response when my colleague said I was emasculating my husband? I'm female 36, married with 3 kids, work in this company for 4 years. I transferred to another department and met new colleagues. We were having lunch days ago and small chats when my husband called asking where I put the ceramic pan. I told him where to find it and ended a call. My new colleague Ross, 40s, married with no kids, calling him passive-aggressive is the nicest thing you can say about him, was looking confused throughout the phone call. Then he asked if my husband cooks. I said yes. Not just cooks, but he also cleans, take care of the dishwashing, floor mopping, toilet scrubbing, grocery shopping, and deep cleaning rooms once a week. Ross started laughing as I went on and listed the things my husband does, then casually asked who's demanded house then if my husband's busy being the housewife. I just glanced at him to explain as my colleagues kept staring. Ross said, "Okay, there's a mandate house, all right. And I'm thinking it's you, since you've emasculated your husband to the point of mopping the floor." Others laughed. I said, "No, we're just splitting duties. And since I'm the current breadwinner, he took it upon himself to help make things balanced after he lost his job." My other female colleague pointed out that I'm lucky my husband believes in partnership, unlike most husbands, which is a global issue. Ross said that I was indeed lucky to find a man with little to no self-esteem to be gleefully and passionately taking on a role of a homemaker like that. I was shocked and got extremely agitated after he proceeded to say that he was 100% sure my husband no longer feels like the man he used to be before losing his job. He called him poor soul and sarcastically hoped he at least still gets to keep his manhood in the bedroom. I was about to yell, but kept it civil and looked at him and said, "Oh, don't worry. He's doing just fine in the bedroom because he's always been enough of a man for me. And as a result, we have 3 kids. 3 kids while he, Ross, on the other hand." Everyone stopped for a second, and Ross had a shocked look on his face. Then lost it, saying it was insensitive and pathetic of me for bringing his infertility in an argument, and used it as a low blow and said that I should feel ashamed of myself for bragging about my kids, knowing that he can't have children for reasons he cannot control. I replied that he should feel ashamed of how he was talking about my husband, and told him maybe it's better that he just stop getting himself involved in other people's business. He doubled down, saying he gets to get himself involved in whatever and wherever he wants, because it's a free country. Other colleagues started getting involved as the argument escalated. Ross told me he will make sure to let HR know about the lovely conversation we had, and walked away like he dropped some sort of bomb on me. I got a lot of heat from his guy friends, but one female colleague said Ross was rude, but I took too far with what I said. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I have nothing against infertility, and I know how devastating it is for families who want to have kids. I have 3 infertile close loved ones, and I feel secondhand devastation for their pain and suffering. I myself had my share of pregnancy issues in the past, and I'm blessed even though my oldest has a chronic condition. People are saying I shouldn't have engaged further in the conversation, and the reason was because of how he was acting and his use of words, implying that I'm being unfair to my husband, and using his job loss to gain advantage. Now for the top comments. Not today, home. Why is it a free country when he wants to share his opinion of your situation, but is not okay the other way around? I have no clue, honestly. He just threw his phrase in my face as it was supposed to shut me up or something. It was a weird statement, and obviously a lame excuse. Not today, home. An old saying comes to mind. Don't dish it out if you can't take it. Dish it out? Are you implying Ross would have anything to do with dishes? He's a man. I think Opie was tactless. I said yes, not just cooks, but he also cleans, takes care of the dishwashing, floor mopping, toilet scrubbing, grocery shopping, and deep cleaning rooms once a week. Who and why describes housework in that much detail? Toilet scrubbing? Deep cleaning? There's nothing to be gained by that. And it sounds, I don't know, demeaning. Flipping genders. My wife scrubs the toilets. I mean, maybe it's true, but does it really need to be discussed at work? A homemaker of any gender is assumed to be doing housework. Oh, don't worry, he's doing just fine in the bedroom because he's always been enough of a man for me. Inappropriate for the workplace. Everything Ross said was also inappropriate for the workplace. I suggest both Opie and Ross learn some boundaries about what depth to go into about personal matters while chatting in the workplace. Everyone sucks here. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my wife name our baby after her deceased coworker? My 30 male wife, 30 female, is pregnant with our first child. We recently found out that we're having a little baby boy. A few weeks ago, we decided to write down all the boy names we like, make a priority list, and then let the names simmer for a couple of weeks before we make any judgment calls. Now, I know the names my wife likes. If I'm being completely honest, they're usually very southern and attempting to be modern. Think the name Kaysen or Braxton. Both names were on the list. However, at the top of her list and one with a high priority was the name Scott. Now, no hate to the name Scott, just very out of left field for her. She told me how much she loved it and how it meant a lot to her, and when I questioned her on it, she didn't really say much more. I actually loved the name Scott, so I kept it number 1, and it was also at the top of my simmer list, as we had been calling it. Well, yesterday we ended the simmer period, and both decided on the name Scott Kanan. Both names were number 1 in our lists, and we were over the moon. As we were going to bed, I asked how she thought of the name Scott, and she admitted to me that now that I set it in stone that she felt more comfortable telling me. There was an older man she apparently worked with, who I had never heard of before, that she really loved named Scott. She said she was 66 and gave her a lot of life advice and guidance, but died last year due to being immunocompromised. After she said this to me, I became completely uncomfortable. I don't want our baby named after a dead coworker of hers I've never met. I asked if she asked his family if it was okay, and she said she's never met his family and doesn't think it's necessary. The whole thing is just so bizarre to me considering I've never heard of this guy before. She mentioned the passing of a coworker last year, and I knew she was sad, but she never said much more than that. Long story short, I told her we're not naming our baby Scott because I don't feel comfortable with it. She immediately got mad at me, and it turned into a big argument. I had her mom and sisters call me today saying I liked the name before, but that I was being a jerk over some old dude, and my wife won't talk to me now. I even love the name Scott. I just don't like naming our baby my wife's dead co-worker I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Just for clarification, I would not mind keeping the name Scott, and I have communicated this to my wife, if she would tell me about him so I know who we're naming our child after. She won't tell me anything past that he was a mentor to her. No other details. As well, I was mainly upset because I felt like I was tricked into the name, because she withheld obvious intent with its meaning. I would have probably been a lot less confused or weirded out if she would have just explained that before. But since she will not talk to me about Scott, it is essentially stonewalling me until I give in. I feel as if I may not be the a-hole here. I will take my judgments as they come, but there's more of my side of the story. I just want to clarify the permission from the family thing. She wants to actively make posts linking to his Facebook about our child's growth and development. I feel like it was a little weird to do without asking his family if they're comfortable with that, especially since they've never met. That's why I thought she knew his family, because she was telling me the hashtag she created for it and everything. I realize I may be in the minority here, but I say not the a-hole. Frankly, I think it's telling she didn't share the meaning or importance to her until you settled on the name. It seems like she knew you wouldn't be okay with it, and that's why she didn't tell you until you'd accepted it. That is not okay. Since it sounds to me like if you'd had that information from the beginning that you wouldn't have settled on it, that exonerates you in my mind. She, on the other hand, lied. You directly asked her where it came from, and she didn't tell you. She is the a-hole here in my opinion. Not the a-hole. Yeah, this. She wanted a name for a serious reason she didn't disclose, and then went, phew, got what I want, so now I can say a little about it. At this point, I'd have trouble believing that what she said is the entire truth. Come on, all you YTA people. Really? How many of you are planning to name your kid after a freaking co-worker? If I had to pick between Kaysen, Braxton, and late coworker Jr., I'd be relieved to have the third option. Okay, this is bizarre, but I think I can put my finger in why you're weirded out. For whatever reason, your wife seems to have gone through a significant loss that you were not at all in tune with. You stated you briefly mentioned losing a coworker, but clearly you had no idea that he had this much of an impact on her life. I think it's completely understandable why she would want to name your son after this man. On the other hand, it's definitely weird that this is the first time you're hearing about your child's namesake. I would suggest sitting your wife down and genuinely asking her why she didn't want to share with you something that clearly affected her so deeply. Obviously, everyone has the right to keep things private. It may be she's just not a big talker, which is fine. But it's okay to be surprised by this and to have questions. No a-holes here, but I think you guys just need to communicate. When I say she briefly mentioned it, I mean the day passed we were on a car drive to visit her family and she said, "Oh my god, my coworker died," as she saw a post on his Facebook. That was it. Nothing more. Didn't mention his name, no tears or sadness. More shock than anything. And I was with her 24/7 the entire weekend after, and she seemed fine. It never brought it up again. I've been with her for 8 years and know how she handles deaths of those she's close to, and it was nothing like she did with him. That is why the whole thing was bizarre. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for locking my friend's boyfriend out so he can't have a midnight bath at my house?" To give a small background on my friend, female 23, and her boyfriend, male 22, they have been together for 3 years and none of our friends particularly like him. He is a peculiar guy and none of us really are able to hold a conversation with him. He has also been extremely irresponsible before when he has been in our home when we're not in, leaving the front door unlocked and leaving bottom floor windows open. In our household, it is me, female 23, my housemate, male 24, and my friend. My friend went on a holiday for 2 weeks. She told us she left a key and that he might pop in. When she told us this, we presumed he might come over to eat the rest of her food or pick some stuff up. My housemate works nights, so when I come back from work, it's just me on my own. I'm really cautious about keeping everything locked. Also, when I'm on my own, walk naked too, and from the bathroom. My housemate and I both started to notice things moving around the house during the period our friend was away, so I felt really confused as to whether he was still in the house or not. On one of the evenings, I was on my own and it was about 20 to 12, and I was getting ready for bed and suddenly I hear the door open. I freaked out and thought a freaking stranger was in my home. It was her boyfriend. I asked him why he was here and why he hadn't told us he was coming over, and he just said he wanted a bath. I told him it was late, and he should have messaged me. He sort of chuckled about being in our house the other day, and none of us knew, which made me feel furious. When my housemate came in from his night shift, he told me the front door has been unlocked all night, which made him panic and check if everything was okay in our house, only to find a boyfriend wandering around. Last night he came over, I was on my own again, and I chose to deadbolt the door. I wanted to be left alone, feel safe in my house. So again, but this time at midnight, I heard him trying the door. He texted me asking if I was in, but I just ignored him. We then received a text from our friend asking us not to lock him out. I replied saying we didn't mind him coming over, but he should tell us and not do it so late. He left the door unlocked, etc. She said she would talk to him, but to just let him in. I lied that we wouldn't be in, so it was all locked and he wouldn't be able to get in, and to tell him. She then just said she understands it's probably annoying him coming over, but we obviously want our place to be somewhere our boyfriends can turn to when they need it. I went back that night, locked myself in, played Sims, and got drunk safe in the knowledge she couldn't get in. Now I can imagine you're probably wondering why I felt the need to come over. His heating and water were fine. He said it was because he didn't like his neighbors. To clarify, he also has another home, but chooses to illegally sublet it for extra income. Not today home. Sounds like he's enjoying the power and the effect he has on you and is deliberately creeping you out. Keep locking him out. It's not his place. Check your lease to see if it's allowed to let other people have keys to the space. Consider finding a new place to live, as it's clear your friend doesn't understand the impact her boyfriend is having. Totally agree. He is doing this deliberately because he finds her uneasiness amusing. If it was me, I would be concerned that his creepy behavior might escalate, and I would argue that he should be allowed in their home even when his girlfriend is with him. The fact that he came over in the middle of the night when he knew Opie was there alone, I'm assuming he's familiar with their schedules, is very unsettling and what he's doing seems violating. Not today home. Frankly, what this all comes down to for me is, it is absolutely not okay to have guests over if you yourself are not there. That just seems really wrong to me. Like, sure, she has a right to have her boyfriend over when she is there, but if she isn't there, he shouldn't be there. Barring emergencies, of course. And a bath isn't an emergency. Who gives out a freaking key to a shared house? Was that discussed anywhere? We then received a text from our friend asking us not to lock him out. Replied to that text a firm no. Her boyfriend doesn't live at your house. He is not allowed to have a key. He is not allowed in except as a guest, and only when she's at home. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not punishing my son? I, 41 male, have a son, 12 male, that lives with me. His mother passed away a year ago from breast cancer. He attends school nearby and is doing well. I'm very proud of how well my son is doing in school, and happy that he hangs with good kids. I have been with my girlfriend, 42 female, for a few months now, and she and son get along. Son and I have a very close relationship. We spent a lot of time together. He is doing well in school and he has not gotten in any trouble since attending. Son comes home from school to let me know that he got detention the next day in the afternoon. I ask him why, and he tells me that he stopped a kid from bullying and pushed the kid when he got in his face. A teacher walked by and he saw Son pushing the kid. Son was really upset that he got detention, and I let him know that I am in his corner. Girlfriend came over for dinner and heard about the detention. She looks at me and says Son got detention? Shouldn't he be getting punished? I look at girlfriend and tell her that it was a different circumstance, and Son was not getting any further punishments. She frowns and tells me that Son got in trouble, he should be getting punished. Am I the a-hole for not punishing my son? Not the a-hole. He shouldn't be punished for doing the right thing, in a way that I think is reasonable. If anything, I'd be headed to school to stop the detention from happening with the whole story. Bring all the kids in with the principal and get it worked out. As for your girlfriend, she's not the parent and doesn't get a say. If she isn't comfortable with that, are you comfortable continuing the relationship? School, no doubt, has a zero-tolerance policy. Everybody gets in trouble no matter who starts it. Zero tolerance is oddly commonplace despite being morally reprehensible. Not day home. Detention is the, in my opinion, undeserved punishment. He will serve detention and then it's over. The only punishment he should get from dad for stopping that kid is a new video game or his favorite pizza for dinner after detention. My daughter knows that if she stands up to these types, she may get in trouble at school but never at home. If it is so bad she needs to step in and defend herself or others, it's a failure of the adults at the school, not the kids that have stepped in and look out for others. Am I the a-hole for choosing my little sister over wife? I, 29 male, have been married to my wife, 29 female, for 4 years. I have a little sister, 10 female, who lives with my parents. 2 months ago, my parents tragically passed away in a car accident. It has been very tough for my sister and I, but we are managing. I am the only brother, so I decided to take in my little sister and be her guardian. So here comes the issue. My wife and I already decided that we did not want kids. When I told her, she refused and said she did not sign up to be a parent, and we had already decided that. I told her I understand, but life is unfair and sometimes things happen that force us to do things outside of our comfort zone because it is the morally right thing to do. She said that I should put her in foster care or for adoption. I shut down that completely and told her the brother is still alive, so that's not happening. We continued talking about this several times, but she would not change her mind. So I finally told her I am doing it whether she agrees or not. She can either accept this situation or we divorce. And if she decided to go the separation route, I understand, because I am the one who broke the agreement about kids. She started crying and said that she chooses the second option. My in-laws called me after my wife went back to their house, and they started berating me about how I am an a-hole and bad husband, and that a good husband will always choose his wife first. I did not reply until they said that their daughter's tears are more valuable than my sister. That got me pissed, so I told them to go F themselves and hung up the phone. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for divorcing my wife to adopt my sister? Now for the top comments. At first, I was going with no a-holes here, but seriously, your wife suggesting you put your sister up for adoption or into foster care is just... I don't have the words. It's one thing to not want kids. It's another to be that heartless. It's great that you're taking your sister in, and I'm sure you'll find someone a lot better than your soon-to-be ex. Not stay home. Took the words out of my mouth, 100%. Seriously, the level of sheer selfishness and lack of empathy in that statement is absolutely mind-boggling. No one really signs up for this sort of thing. You just have to make the best you can of a horrible situation. I could not imagine being able to continue respecting a spouse who said something like that and stood behind it. I hope he was actually far more tactful than I think I would have been able to be, and I am also a child-free person by choice. Not stay home. I don't want kids either, but when it comes to the family we have already, I would never stop my significant other from helping his sisters. One of them is living with us right now because her dad hit her. It isn't what I wanted. I am super introverted, but she is family, and I was immediately ready to take her in. We all hope someone will be there for us if something awful happens. Your parents died, and she is telling you to put your sister in foster care? That is callous and horrible to me. Life is what it is. We can't have everything we want, and we do not abandon family. I hope this isn't real because it makes me so sad. Yes, take care for your sister. Exactly. It's not like he is taking in some random child. This is his family, not the same as having a child. Sure, he will have to raise her, but it's nowhere near the same as having your own child. His wife freaking sucks. No a-holes here. It's unfortunate that your wife will not cave, but also her right to choose to be childless. Good on you to step in for your sister. It sounds like it will be beneficial for both of you at this terrible time. I am so sorry for your loss. She can go into foster care or be put up for adoption. Opie's soon-to-be ex-wife is a huge one for saying that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for revoking my husband's access to my bank account? My husband and I have been married for 3 years. We have 2 separate bank accounts, but both of us know the information of each other's bank account. My husband is working a good job, gets a lot of money. I'm currently in pregnancy leave, but I also have a good job as an optometrist. I also have lots of savings in my bank account. Recently, I found out my husband got money out of my bank account, around $3,000 to lend to his brother. His brother has a job, but refuses to spend his own money and expects his mom and dad to provide for him while he spends money on games and stuff like that. Apparently, my brother-in-law owed some people $3,000, and despite the fact he had that amount in his own bank account, he asked my husband for money. My husband not only gave him money, but got my own savings from my own bank account without asking me first. When I found out, I confronted my husband. Then he went to his parents and brother and complained about me confronting him. My in-laws called me and said I'm an entitled a-hole to make such a big deal over $3,000 since my parents are rich, and that amount is insignificant to me. They said their son needs it to pay off some loans, and I'm the a-hole for making my husband feel bad for helping out his brother. I revoked my husband's access to my bank account, and now he's saying I'm the a-hole and taking it too far instead of trying to resolve this another way. Am I the a-hole? Your husband has shown 2 major marriage-risking behaviors. 1, he broke your trust by stealing from your personal account. He didn't ask you if you'd want to help the brother. He didn't use his money, and he didn't even tell you what he did on his own. He knew it was wrong and did it anyways. 2, he sicked his family on you rather than deal with the problem with you directly. Not the a-hole. I think your marriage has hit a major crisis, and this should not be swept under the rug. Don't forget this gem. My in-laws called me and said I'm an entitled a-hole to make such a big deal over $3,000 since my parents are rich, and that amount is insignificant to me. There are a couple more problems here. 1, the enabling entitlement means brother is going to be a lifelong millstone around his family's neck. There will always be something he needs that the rest of the family will mobilize themselves into gathering for him. 2, the in-laws are gold diggers. They know Opie's parents are well off. The expectations of Opie bankrolling them are and will continue to be high. Not a a-hole. Maternity leave is when you are at your most vulnerable. There is a reason most women who are having babies get asked by nurses if they have a safe home environment. Your husband just told you that A, he'll help himself to your income without your approval. B, he'll help himself to your income while you aren't earning your normal wages, isn't eating into your safety net. C, he won't let you raise issues and will walk out on you, and presumably your child, although it's not clear how long he was gone, if you take issue with his behavior. And D, he will get his family to bully you when you disagree. So Opie, is this a safe and healthy marriage? Not a a-hole. I fully believe that if you're married, you should be all in and combine your finances. However, part of that is making sure you are both on board with big layouts. What's big might be different from couple to couple. Like, I wouldn't consider $100 a big amount, but a couple living from paycheck to paycheck probably would. But I think $3,000 would qualify unless you're multi-millionaires. So he used a large chunk of money without you both agreeing, and for what I consider a stupid purpose since brother-in-law just didn't want to use his own money. He took the money from Opie's savings account. It wasn't his money to lend. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for fighting to gain my handicap-accessible house from my ex and her disabled daughter? I, 32 male, recently divorced my ex, 33 female, due to our coffee preferences. Despite having a solid marriage contract about property and finances, the court outright ignored it and awarded my family home to my ex. It's a 5-bedroom house, and I lived and maintained that, and I had modified for my then stepdaughter 16, who has a walking disability. Sure, I can afford to buy and build a house if I so desired, but I got that house from my father, who got it from his father. My parents are not alive, and I am an only child, so the house holds a sentimental value. Well, I lawyered up, fought in the superior court, and won. And now ex and her daughter have to leave because they cannot afford the legal fees, and I am not willing to go into any settlement now that I know the kind of person I was up against. Problem is, my friends, extended family, and people who know about our family situation. They are calling me the bad guy for putting the daughter in a bad situation. Yes, our country does suck at making places accessible, and my house was the one comfortable place she could be at. I could give that house and make a new one or buy one, but because of the sentimental value attached to the house, I was unwilling. They doubled down that I offered no financial assistance to my spouse out of obligation for being a man. They're all giving moral arguments instead of legal ones, and I for one do not see myself at fault. Now the ex is uploading videos of her daughter on how terrible a place she has to live in. Now that I stole my house, I feel conflicted. Edit. The coffee preference is a joke about how I do not like male genitals in my coffee. That is cheating. Not stay home. It's your house. It belongs in your family. You did it up for your ex-stepdaughter, which was already an amazing thing you did. But they are not a part of your family anymore, and you have no obligation to help. As heartless as people may find that statement, it's true. Anyone who calls you an a-hole is welcome to help pay to do up your ex's new house to make it more accessible for their daughter. Morally and legally, it's your house. It's a family home passed down by your parents, not your ex's parents. It's legally and morally your home. Even the appellate courts agreed that the lower courts erred in their initial judgment. Also, on the moral side, if he was in a good relationship with a stepdaughter, I could maybe encourage him to think about dropping some financial help to make their new place more accessible. If I divorced and loved my ex-stepkid erased for years, I would, but not on these conditions. The ex-stepdaughter sided with her mother to try and steal his house. She is participating in the online slandering. This is no good. She clearly doesn't care the slightest about Opie, and so I think it's better they all just part ways. I know children can be swayed by their parents, but she is old enough to have a sense of right and wrong. You guys were only married for a few years, not stay home. They had no reasonable expectation to keep the house when it's been in your family for generations, and you guys were together for a short time. I would suggest that maybe you could provide some money that could go directly to building ramps and such for the daughter in the place they're in now. You don't have to outfit the whole place, but maybe help make some modifications. Yes, I was thinking this. I don't think Opie's the a-hole, but from what I read I didn't see any opinions or bad attitude from the daughter and is innocent in this. Could be wrong. If you have any feelings for her being your stepdaughter, it would mean a lot to her. She may be feeling bad, ashamed and like an inconvenience because she may think this is all her fault. Her disability is causing what is probably a nightmare for her. It's you. It's totally you. Hopefully your moneyed feelings for your house are there for you when no one else wants to be. You admit you could afford to just buy another house, which leads me to ask, why didn't you do that and charge your ex rent? You both would have won, and you would have a clear conscience in your twilight years. But you didn't. Ex aside, you essentially left a disabled person in the snow. Why should Opie spend money to buy a new house and let someone who cheated on him and lied in court live in one he already had? Also, if it did that, it will probably ended with the ex making more claims to the house. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother that his recent breakup was his fault? Despite having a good job, my brother is cheap. A few years ago, he bought a fixer-upper for a reduced price. It was a complete mess, but he moved in and said he would fix it up himself. The house needs more than a few repairs and some paint, and my brother has no renovation experience or skills. The house has no basement stairs. When the hot water tank broke, he couldn't find anyone to fix it because there was no way to get a person and their tools down the rickety ladder. He hasn't had hot water for over 2 years. None of the rooms have doors. The kitchen has no sink. Only one room is painted, and it looks like a 5-year-old did it, and the attic isn't sealed. He uses rainwater to shower and wash his clothes. He has an outhouse in his yard. The house has a functional shower and toilet, but even if he had hot water, he doesn't want to run up his bill. He reuses floss and whatever food he doesn't grow himself. He gets from dumpsters outside restaurants or from the dollar store when it's close to expired. His wardrobe is falling apart because he won't buy new clothing. He refuses to have an air conditioner, and we have many days when it's over 100 degrees and his house gets unbearable. He was engaged, but I don't think she realized the extent until they moved in together. She didn't want a huge white wedding, but my brother wanted to barter to get the license fee paid and didn't want to spend anything on the wedding. His plan was to have a friend get ordained and get married in his yard in clothes they already had and not feed anyone. Just send them home after the vows. No photos besides cell phones once taken by the guests. He wouldn't even entertain the idea of having a barbecue because he said it was too expensive. For her birthday, he got her dad flowers he stole from a funeral home and takeout he got from a dumpster. They only lived together for 3 months before she left. Our parents say it isn't his fault. His girlfriend wanted material things instead of loving him like he is, and they are blaming her. When he complained to me, he expected me to agree. I said it's not materialistic to want to use electricity instead of flashlights, or use an indoor bathroom or eat food that wasn't from a dumpster. I also said it was insulting to expect people to come to your wedding and act as unpaid photographers, not even feed them. I said the breakup was his fault, not hers. Now he's not talking to me, and our parents expect me to apologize for upsetting him. I refuse to apologize because I believe he is wrong and they are enabling him. I don't think there is anything wrong with being frugal, but my brother is on a different planet. My parents won't stop insisting I'm wrong for mistreating my brother. Should I have just agreed when he complained about the breakup? Tell me, was I wrong for giving an honest opinion? Not stay home. It sounds like your brother has some mental health issues. Nope, there are people like this. Look up extreme cheapskates. If you are in the US, it used to come on TLC. Dumpster divers, eating others' leftovers out of the fridge, begging others for their scraps at restaurants, cooking in the dishwasher, using the pool to wash dishes/clothes or the kids, using tuna cat food instead of tuna for human consumption. There are also come cheapskates on live free or die. They live off the grid primarily in the lower US states. They barter, forge, and live on the fringes. Opie's brother is one of these folks. Yes, it is his fault. He needs to be upfront and honest with any future partner. It's not materialistic to want hot water inside plumbing and electricity. It's not the 1850s frontier. Not stay home. Even living like he is, he's still golden. Tell mom and dad to move in with him since they support him so much. His ex must have really wanted to get married to stay as long as she did. Not stay home. She's not materialistic. She wants common things like hot water and the ability to go into the basement or food that's not from the dumpster. That's unsafe and hazardous. Who would be okay with living like that? That's unacceptable. You're right, Opie. Weird that their definition of materialistic seems to be doesn't want to live in their own filth. Not stay home. There's cheap and thrifty, but this is something else. He needs help. Yep, there's a huge difference between being frugal/thrifty and being miserly. Frugal is not willing to spend $100 for a t-shirt, but will go to a thrift store and pick a good quality t-shirt, and occasionally splurge on something personal like an annual cruise. Buying mostly affordable things without significantly compromising on quality and safety. Miserly is the brother who will do anything and everything to save a penny. Like waiting until clothes become hole-ridden rags before buying a cheap and poor quality $3 t-shirt. And other things despite significant inconvenience in sacrificing personal comfort and safety. Am I the a-hole for posting a picture of my baby? Me, 28 female, and my ex-husband, 29 male Ben, got divorced at the beginning of last year. After we got divorced, I found out I was pregnant. I decided to keep the baby, and in November of last year, my son Christopher was born. Chris lives with me Sunday to Friday, and on Saturdays he stays with Ben. My husband's new fiancée, Genevieve, yes, with AJ, is acting like Chris is her son. She's trying to teach Chris to call her mommy, even though that is what he calls me. She criticizes my purchases and baby products and calls me cheap, and even tells me she should have part custody even though she and Ben aren't even married. What pushed me too far was when I posted a picture of my baby. Genevieve had the audacity to tell me I can't take a picture of my baby without her permission when I gave birth to the baby and I take care of him most of the week. The worst part is that she posts pictures of the baby, and when she does, she makes it seem like he is her son. After this instance, I couldn't handle her anymore. I gave her and Ben an ultimatum about how she was treating Chris like he is her son when he only sees her once a week, and she isn't even his official stepmom. Ben said I'm being an A, and Jen is just being nice. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I would also check your state laws and parental alienation. It's one thing to want to love the child of your partner/spouse. It's another to pretend to be mom when mom is in the picture and you are the main caretaker. Not to mention to contact all social media sites and report all photos for unsolicited pictures of a minor. As OP is Chris's parent, she can legally request for them to be taken down. Not stay home, but stop letting her get you riled up. Just tell her you're not interested in her opinion on baby products, that you're not discussing sharing custody with her, that you will take whatever pictures you want of your son. Don't dignify her nonsense with emotional reaction just clearly trying to provoke. Just say, I'm not discussing this with you. Yes, this. Ben is the only one you should talk with anything about. She texts, you don't reply, or tell her the first few times that you will only discuss with Ben. They're not married, and even if they were newly so, Jen has no place in the child custody discussion. Eventually though, if Jen stays and marries in, she needs to be a partner in raising Chris. United front. That all needs to start with Ben and come to you both through Ben. Not stay home. You should get a lawyer involved in your custody agreement. If this woman remains in your son's life, you are going to have to set clear boundaries. Your ex doesn't seem to understand how confusing this will be in the future. Next story. Am I the a-hole for accidentally upsetting my niece by saying her mom's life would be better if she wasn't born? To summarize, I-32 female got into an argument over something ridiculous, and now everyone's mad at me. When my sister, 26 female, was 17, she got pregnant and had a baby girl. Obviously, since she was young, she wasn't exactly ready to raise a kid, but my family did the best we could to help her out. She currently has a stable job and is living with her child and the child's father in their own apartment. The issue is that since she had the baby so young, she never got to really experience her life. I'm child-free, and I'm always enjoying new life experiences, and I know my sister is jealous of me for it. The other day, I came over for her daughter's birthday party, and we were talking about her as a baby. At one point, we started to argue about how she was raised, and I said, "Don't you ever think your life would have been better if she had never been born?" It turns out her daughter was in earshot of this, so she heard everything and got really upset. My sister got defensive and said that her child was the best thing to ever happen to her, called me Nahal and kicked me out of the party. She blocked my number and won't talk to me at all now. My mom is saying I should apologize, but my dad agrees with me on this and says my sister was overreacting. Maybe I was a bit too aggressive when I said it, but I know what I said is true. Am I the a-hole for what I did? You're the a-hole. You're such an a-hole. It's not even a debate. Nobody gives a damn about your child-free status, or how you're a narcissist who thinks your sister is jealous of you. That's her child that she chose to raise. She loves her child more than you and always will, and your role as sister and aunt is either to support them or leave them the hell alone. You should apologize, but I hope she doesn't accept it. You view her daughter as an inconvenience, and I personally wouldn't allow you anywhere near my kid if you were my sister and had that selfish viewpoint. One other thing I'd like to point out is that the only person who sounds jealous here is you. Jealous, petty, and cruel. Your sister is living the best life she can with everything the world gave her, and you're disparaging her privately and publicly because it doesn't fit with your ideal? Sounds to me like your sister turns lemons into lemonade in the form of a beautiful child and a successful life, and you're the sour one. Opie is definitely the jealous one. Her sister has a child, a job, and a family. Opie is projecting. Assuming her sister is jealous because Opie is child-free and enjoying new life experiences, even double down on it because she knows what she's saying is true. Even in her response to the bot, all she says is that she should have waited until her niece was out of earshot to say. Opie's bitter. Having a kid doesn't mean you don't get to experience life. Such an ugly attitude. I hope her sister keeps her blocked and keeps her away from her daughter. She obviously has some type of resentment towards this child. You're the a-hole. Holy cow, I was eager to read this, thinking, come on now, let's find out what the context is before jumping to a conclusion. But nope, 100% you are a certified, grade A, worst of the worst a-hole. It was the kid's birthday party. The kid's birthday party. Even if the kid wasn't within earshot, that's not okay to say. I would suggest you apologize, but part of me thinks your sister and her family is better off with no contact from you. I agree with all of this. Why was Opie even arguing about how her niece was raised at a child's birthday party? It's so inappropriate. You're the a-hole, Opie. So much that I'm shocked you even had to ask. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being offended that my in-laws asked me to have an induction? Plus a little update. I'm 24 female and pregnant with my first child, and I'm due the week before Thanksgiving. My parents live outside of the country, and due to COVID restrictions, my husband, 27 male, and I were not sure if they would be able to make it for the birth. So when my in-laws asked if they could come to stay with us close to our due date, we said yes. My husband's family is huge, and this is something I didn't even consider when we agreed to this, which already has been causing me to have a ton of anxiety. He has 6 siblings, a brother-in-law, and his parents coming. His family is really hoping to stay for Thanksgiving with us after the baby is born. Since his sister and brother-in-law weren't able to take time off for the due date or Thanksgiving Day, we all agreed to celebrate it on the 30th. Well, today we got a call from his family saying that his sister no longer wants to celebrate it on the 30th, but is giving us the option to either have Thanksgiving on the 20th or the 21st. My due date is on the 19th. We told them we have no idea when the baby is actually coming, so we could not promise that this would work. They then asked when our next OB appointment is, and told us to tell our doctor to have the baby induced on the 12th, since that works better for the family. I'm pissed. They didn't even ask us how we feel about it. We are already having to plan to have the house full of people with a newborn while COVID is still a thing. And now they're trying to convince me, the lady who had been puking her guts out for the last 7 months, to make a rushed decision about my first pregnancy to appease other people's schedule. I'm already terrified of the unknown, and this is causing me so much stress. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be induced and for being upset that they asked for this in the first place? Info. We did require that everyone is up to date with flu, COVID, and TDAP shots. We also will require masks to be worn, and no one other than the parents will be allowed to hold the baby. As we now know these things probably won't be respected, we're trying to figure out a new arrangement so they're not all staying with us. For context, my parents are not American, and I did not grow up celebrating Thanksgiving, so I personally do not care for it. I'm in no way prioritizing this over my child. Ultimately, while attempting to protect other people's feelings, we failed to set boundaries. We're working on it. Now for the comments before the little update. Not a home. We are already having to plan to have the house full of people with a newborn. Stop doing that. Even if the baby comes on schedule, you are not going to want to entertain a household full of guests when you've just given birth and are trying to look after a new baby. The decision to invite everyone to stay was the wrong decision, and you and your husband need to withdraw the invitation. Yes, I agree it was the wrong decision. My in-laws owned a property we're renting, so we initially felt like we had to say yes, and we genuinely didn't even consider how much of an issue it would be. It was pretty responsible of us, honestly. Get your doctor to tell you that you can't have guests that early in the baby's life. Too much risk. Then they would have to openly tell you that they don't care about your baby, at which point, to hell with them. Induction should only be for medical necessity. You're not the a-hole. That is an insane demand to make of anyone. I hope your partner shut it down. I would tell them all to buzz off, not to come and be an additional stress towards to the end of your pregnancy / the first days of your life as a new mom. Unless they're coming down to help you, they should get the hell off. NTA, NTA, NTA. And now for the little update. My husband called my father-in-law and told him we're not comfortable having anyone stay here. Father-in-law is currently looking for another place for them to stay, and said he'll cancel the trip entirely if they're unable to do so. I'm not sure what our relationship with them is right now since so many lines were crossed, but we'll continue to work on setting boundaries. Thank you to mostly everyone for being so kind, and giving me a push to stand up for myself and prioritize my transition into parenthood. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for moving out because my nephew is moving in? I'm 23 female still living with my parents, but paying rent of $600 per month, grocery money to my parents of $150 and all my own bills. I graduated uni last year and started my first grown-up job in January. Despite wanting to move out when I started working, my parents convinced me to stay living at home in order to save money, because we live in a very high cost of living city. They told me a few weeks ago that in October, my nephew 17 male would be moving in with us indefinitely. My nephew's mom is my half-sister, and I've only met him once in my life as he lived across the country. I have no problem with him at all, and I know family's family, but I really don't want to live with a teenage boy again. I also have 2 brothers, one still lives at home. Our house is too small for this many people, and I really wanted my own space for friends and dating, etc. So I found a decent studio for $1,500 and told my parents I'm moving out. They were pissed because they said they need my rent money for their mortgage, and especially with my nephew now living with them, groceries plus living expenses will be more expensive. I told them it's not my problem because they invited an additional person to live with us without asking me, so I can make my own decision without asking them. My nephew can get a job when it comes, or they can ask my sister for rent money, but it's not my responsibility. They said I'm an a-hole because family always helps family. Not the a-hole. Your parents unilaterally made a decision about your living situation. They changed the terms, so it's perfectly reasonable for you to leave because those terms are not what you want, nor what you'd previously agreed to. Exactly. And Opie's old enough to be making her own decisions about this stuff. I don't know why the parents expect a 23-year-old to live with them forever. Not stay home. I was in the same scenario. I was 27 when I moved out because my dad stopped working and I was supporting my family. They will continue to rely on your money. Unless you want to live at home forever, jump. I'd agree with the change in terms thing. If your money's that important to the house, you should have a voice in major changes. Why are they voluntarily adding more people, especially minors that cannot contribute, if they are already depending on your rent money? Not stay home. At some point, you are going to leave home. Now is your time. Your parents are apparently enjoying your money and have perhaps come to rely on it. Better you get out, because the longer you stay, the harder it will be to go. Not stay home. They said they need my rent money for their mortgage. And especially with my nephew now living with them, groceries plus living expenses will be more expensive. So you pay rent, but the cousin does not? Another reason to move out. It will be good for you to finally move out. Enjoy it, and do not let them have a key. And now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for kid shaming a couple? Context. I'm 28 female, very uncertain with handling kids. Maybe because I've seen parents who flipped the hell out when someone tells their kids no, and how some kids run feral in public places. I don't hate kids, but I'm just very awkward about them. The only kid I'm comfortable handling is my goddaughter, Grace, 3. I just fell completely in love with her the first time I met her. Grace's mom, Val, is a very close friend of mine, and often calls me to help because I live nearby and have a flexible work schedule. Prior to Grace's birth, Val told me that she'd need my help more often since her parents weren't able to travel, and her husband had to go back to the office. But she wanted to give me the choice to say no, because she knew I wasn't familiar around kids. I said yes anyway, but made sure to attend some infant classes, learn baby CPR, and sat on some childcare classes with Val and Dan, so I wasn't completely clueless. I constantly communicate with Val on what I can or cannot do, in terms of setting boundaries when Grace acts up, so everyone is on the same page. Issue? My husband and I were talking to a group of friends when the topic of Grace came up. One couple has a kid around Grace's age, but he is a menace. He's bitten me before because I tried to stop him from running out the front door. This couple asked if I'm teaching Grace not to have fun. And when I asked them to clarify, they said that I was so good at saying no they wondered if Grace has even heard the word yes from me. I was hurt and asked if they would want their kid to touch a hot pan instead, or get hit by a car when running out the front door, things their kid has done. Because having fun is more important than being safe, right? They seemed flustered when I brought it up, but tried to wave it off as, well, luckily you're not our babysitter or our kid would lose his spark. I just rolled my eyes and laughed, which apparently offended them because they said that it felt like I was kid-shaming them. My husband, he's a child therapist, Said it's not the kids' fault when their parents fail to parent, which pissed them off even more. Conversation ended on a sour note, but no one is called as a-holes, as everyone else has been a victim at one point or another of their kids' behavior. But I've been thinking, I don't have kids, and I don't know how difficult it is to raise one. Maybe they're trying, but some kids are really unmanageable. So maybe I'm the a-hole for being rude to them about it? Not the a-hole, because you were just defending yourself. They were rude in the first place. And you obviously seem like you really want what's best for Grace, seeing as you did your research, CPR, etc. They probably meant it as a joke, but definitely sounds like they meant it as an underlying dig at you anyway. If they can give it, they should be able to take it. Glass houses get you every time. Not stay home. Not stay home. You didn't kid shame them. You pointed out their neglect. The spark is called curiosity. Some curiosity is nurtured. Some curiosity should not. Why are trees green versus, will taking a sharp knife to my skin make me bleed? Absolutely. It's a fine line to walk. Because there are a lot of things in the world that can hurt a kiddo. But curiosity cannot be relearned once tapped out. It sounds like the neighbor couple overreacted on a free-range feral child erection and are trying to justify the result of their actions. Also, not stay home. I have a kiddo with spark who asks a million questions and make things out of household objects. And who is absolutely 100% not allowed to bite people. Am I the a-hole for turning away a young child from my son's birthday who bullies him? Excuse the title. I figured blunt was the best method here. My son just turned 8. We had a birthday party for him Saturday. He invited some friends from class, including Kyle. I did not know Kyle was cousins with his other boy in their class, Josh, but Josh has been horrible to my son for a while now. The poor kid has gone through a lot. His baby sister died, then his dad leaves him and his mom. My son has a baby brother, and he has both me and my husband, his dad, still in one home. So he has become a target for Josh's hurt and anger. It started off when they went to virtual learning last September. My son would say things about Josh. I spoke to the teacher and she said she was doing everything to correct Josh and protect my son. And then in May, their school decided to test out going back to in-person learning all day. While there, Josh was nasty to my son. It made the entire month a living hell for my son, and I was on the school's ass about it. I put in for a class transfer but was denied because they were dealing with it. When they returned to school a few weeks ago, Josh was still targeting my son. So anyway, Kyle's mom showed up to the party Saturday with Josh. I was confused. I asked what was going on. She explained he was her nephew, etc., etc., and she was hoping it would help everyone if he was included since everything going on. I said no way, that he was not invited, and given the way he treats my son, he was not coming in. She argued with me, but I stood firm. She and I got along well before this, which is why her being his aunt shocked me, because you would expect it to come up when she knew about the situation. But now she's saying I was an a-hole to a little boy, and should have known kindness and understanding. My son freaked out when he saw Josh at our house. I'd asked if he was staying, and he was so relieved he wasn't. Am I the a-hole here? I feel bad for the kid, but feel my only loyalty is to my son. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. For starters, it was very presumptuous of her to show up with a +1 when she was not given a +1. She also put you in a position where you needed to choose to turn away a kid who is having a hard time, or force your son to put up with his tormentor in his own home. Neither choice is going to be the right one, and the onus is on her for forcing that on you. This is the best way I've ever seen this written. Excellent, thought-out response. Hope you're not the a-hole. I'm sorry everyone was even put in this position to begin with. It wasn't helping anything. Accepting the child into the party would teach him that actions don't have consequences, and refusing him just adds fuel to the fire. This was a no-win situation that you were forced into. Not stay home, but get the police involved instead of the school. You'll see results faster. Would that work? Surely with such young children their hands are tied, figuratively. Not an expert on this at all, hence why I'm asking. Not with the type of torment my son deals with. Varies a lot depending on where you are. I don't think you are the a-hole for saying no, but I think it's a missed opportunity. Turning him away put a bigger target on your son's back, although showing up on your door with him was a jerk move from the aunt. Including him would have given you the opportunity to see their interactions and see if this relationship could be salvaged. Plus, you're there to monitor if things don't go well. I've had my son invite kids who were horrible to him over to our house, helped them find some common ground and got them to be friends. No more bullying. This kid is obviously going through a lot in his life and is handling it how kids do, by acting like an a-hole. Extending him some kindness will go further in this case. I have to disagree. It's his son's home. His home should be a safe space. He was freaking out when Josh showed up, and if Opie had let Josh stay seeing her son in distress, we would have jumped down her throat for refusing to protect her child in his home. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for airing dirty laundry at a family party? I cut my mom out of my life last year. Our relationship was broken beyond repair years ago. The short story is she and my dad broke up when I was a baby. When I was 2, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he fought to stay alive and survived until 2 months before my 7th birthday. My mom resented the hell out of him. She said he should have let go so I could have loved another man as dad and not be weighed down by my love for him. The first time she said it, I was 10, and her husband told her that I had told him I didn't want or love him, and he would never be my dad. She did not like hearing that, and ranted to me about how selfish my dad was, and said that he destroyed both our lives. Because it meant she always had to watch me suffer, and push away a man who would be a wonderful father if I allowed it. She said it 7 more times after, and I remember each one. Her saying that is the reason I'm done with her. My aunt's birthday was 3 weeks ago. I showed up for my aunt and avoided my mom, but she sought me out, asked me if we could talk, and I said no. She told me she deserved more than I gave her, that her husband deserved more than I gave him, that they were my parents and I was treating them like strangers. I just told her to buzz off. Things escalated and I ended up telling a room full of people that I would never forgive her for calling my dad selfish for wanting to be with me, to survive long enough for me to remember him. I told her my life would have been better with him than with her, and that I had no desire to reconcile, so she needed to just leave me alone and forget I existed. I apologized to my aunt for the outburst, but she understood. My mom tried to follow me afterward, and said I made a scene at someone else's party and it was a childish way to behave. My uncle, married to aunt, was also pissed that I was so vocal. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If your mom is so disturbed by people knowing what she said, it's because she knows it's messed up. Also, you apologized to your aunt. It is not like you planned it. So you're in the clear to me, even if her husband is upset, but that's out of love if it makes sense. Not the a-hole. Yeah, it was mom who caused a scene here. Opie was just nailing the coffin on it. Not the a-hole. If anything, you actively tried to avoid a scene. And it sounds like your mom pursued you until she got one. Sounds kind of like an intentional manipulation of the situation on her part so that the family would take sides. Yes, mom figured he has to talk to me now. And what's he going to do about it? Well, she found out. Good for Opie. Everyone sucks here. Let me be clear that I don't think you're to blame for your relationship with your mom. And from what you've said, I think your feelings are completely justified. Your mother said some really harsh things, and she's really making it about her. She's the one being selfish. That said, maybe you picked the wrong venue to unleash on her, because you essentially made a birthday party about you. And also, you're the one who had to do damage control. Mom followed Opie around though. How is being badgered and not having backup Opie's fault? Next story. Am I the a-hole for siding with my stepdaughter's dad against my wife and exposing her lie? I, male 37, have been married to my wife Regina for 3 years, and I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter named Becky. She's the loveliest and has the most generous heart. Her dad, Regina's ex-husband, Brandon, is a nice dude, and we get along just fine due to the fact that we see each other often, and also because Becky joins us for activities which is always exciting. However, Regina just hates Brandon and always pushes me to have bigger involvement in Becky's life than him, which is illogical since he's her dad before I came along. But that doesn't mean I'm not doing my best to be a father figure to her. So, Becky's sweet 16th birthday was days ago. Brandon couldn't attend due to work, but he came over and gave Regina the gift he brought for Becky, which was an expensive bracelet, and asked her to hold on to it till Becky's birthday party to give it to her, and say it was from her dad. Regina said okay, and he left. I was sitting nearby when they had this conversation. Regina then said she was planning on telling Becky that the bracelet her dad got her was from her. I said no, that's wrong. I did fair to Brandon and Becky if she ever finds out that Regina lied about the bracelet being bought by her. She said she won't find out, but I firmly stated if she tried this, I'll shut her down and tell Becky the truth. She gave me an I dare you look and went about her day. The party came, and when Becky started opening gifts, Regina handed her the bracelet and told her she bought it for her. I was shocked, as I didn't think she'd actually go through with her plan. Becky then asked about her dad's gift, and I flat out told her he already sent her this bracelet, and that her mom lied about buying it when it was Brandon who bought it. My in-laws and Becky's friends were stunned. Becky asked Regina to confirm, but Regina lashed out at me and denied till I showed them the receipt that came with the box, and it was under Brandon's name. Regina threw it, but I retrieved it from the trash. Becky started arguing with Regina and left the room crying, and the party was pretty much over. I literally got yelled at by Regina and her parents, calling me awful for causing drama and accusing Regina of theft and exposing her in front of Becky and her friends. Regina guilted me for not playing along and siding with Brandon against her, and she told me to stop advocating for this guy like we were buddies. I said poor guy did nothing wrong and did deserve to be alienated from his daughter. Becky hasn't spoken to Regina ever since. It is waiting for her dad to come to visit, and Regina isn't talking to me, but me and Becky are good. Am I the a-hole? Did I mess up? Time to answer some questions / add more information. 1. Regina says my friendship with Brandon is weird. It always seemed to be looking for a reason to start an argument between me and him, but he's a good guy. 2. My sister-in-law told me this rivalry Regina has started when Brandon's now wife came into the picture, but most fights are between Regina and Brandon, not his wife. 3. The reason for Regina and Brandon's divorces, according to Regina, is about infidelity on Brandon's part. Not sure about this, but it's what I've been told by her and in-laws. Not stay home. After reading this, I seriously question why you would be with someone like Regina. If I were OP, I would definitely be doubting Regina's accounts for her past marriage, the reasons for their divorce, and pretty much everything else she tells / told him. Not stay home. Regina is. She will never find out. Does she think Brandon will never ask Becky if she liked the bracelet he got her? Your wife is a piece of work. This is a good question, but because Regina's lied about stuff in the past, she was probably counting on he said versus she said type of scenario to make Brandon out to be a liar. I've seen the scenario play out several times before, and I know how it ends. You're the a-hole, because you could have solved this before it became a problem. I know you wanted to give your wife the benefit of the doubt, but from your other replies, you have known for a while now that Regina will make up lies about Brandon. You knew she was going to lie, and she told you she was going to lie. By letting the situation play out, you exposed to Becky's friends to the fact that her own mother would lie to her face. She must be so embarrassed that they know that. And while she doesn't blame you, you could have quietly called Brandon and said, "Look, Regina's planning on taking credit for your gift." Call Regina. Say you changed your mind and give it to her before the party while in FaceTime or Zoom or something. Then he gets credit. And no dirty laundry is aired out publicly, and there's no issues with you and your wife. The kid is old enough to see what her mother is capable of. It was a hard moment for sure, but she saw who her mother is. He could have waited until after the party to tell the truth and minimize the impact on the party. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for unloading in therapy in front of my younger half-siblings? Me, my dad's wife, his wife's sons, and their 3 kids together are all in family therapy. I'm 17 female. My dad decided family therapy was the way to go because I refused to integrate into the family when I moved here 2 years ago following my mom's death. My dad moved away from me after he and my mom decided to divorce for good. They were on and off until I was 5, and then he just up and moved away one day. The next time I saw him, which was 5 months later, he was living with his wife. Her sons are a year older and younger than me respectively, and they thought it would be great, and that it would be so easy to make a family out of kids as young as us. But I was bitter. My dad was gone. He used to show up to pick me up from school on Fridays, and he would take me to computer coding for kids, and then he was gone. I saw him a few weeks every year, and he called, but it never sat right with me that he left me for them, or even that he left to escape my mom. He could have lived closer, 1 or 2 hours. Instead, he moved 32 hours away. Dad always knew I resented him, and he would tell me not to. We fought a few times because I didn't make the effort to bond with the boys, or then his kids with his wife. And when she tried to get close to me, I would tell her I was there to see my dad, and not her. I told him he should move back if he wanted things to get better. Then my mom died unexpectedly. She had struggled with some issues for a while, but I thought things were okay. So he moved me out to him and told me it was our chance to get our relationship back on track. But I held it all in, all the anger and bitterness. They started therapy almost 2 years ago, but I didn't want to be there, not with them. The last week it all came out. The therapist told me that if I wanted to leave, I should wait outside. Dad told me to sit down and take part because that's what they were all there for, to make our family work. And I snapped. I unloaded every single thing that session. 40 minutes of me saying how much I hated my dad for leaving, how this wasn't my family, that I didn't care about his kids, stepkids, or wife, that it was about him and me. And when he left me behind for them, he sealed the fact I would never want a single thing to do with whatever family made after leaving me. It was intense. I cried. I raged. And when it was over, I was piled on by my dad, his wife, and her oldest son for saying all that in front of the younger kids. Then my dad told the therapist we weren't going back because he didn't have a freaking clue what he was doing. These last few days, he has been different. All attempts to bond are gone, and now he's just furious I said all that in front of 3 kids under the age of 10. And his wife goes between mad and hurt that I don't care about her, even though she tried to be a family member to me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. That is what therapy is for. He forced you to participate, which you did. It does sound like you have a lot of stuff to work out, though. Are you going to therapy on your own? You might benefit a lot from that. No, I'm not. He didn't want me to work on solo therapy and give nothing to family. I'll look into therapy once I'm out on my own. That way I can't decide anything about it. It'll be all on me. Maybe after this last family therapy session, he has evolved on the individual therapy front. You should ask. He's done trying now, I think. Hearing exactly how I feel, I think we'll be writing it out until I leave, which is exactly what I want. Not stay home. That's what he wanted when he brought you to therapy. It was a bad idea to have a huge group of people in a therapy session like that. You need to talk to a therapist one-on-one, and your therapist should have arranged that. You should see if you can go back to therapy on your own. The therapist did make the suggestion a couple of times, but my dad was never on board. He didn't want me putting effort into solo therapy and giving nothing to the group still. I am going to disagree with pretty much everyone here. OP, you're the a-hole. However, your dad and stepmother, to a lesser extent, are also the a-holes. You have admitted that you have no desire to improve your relationships. This is childish and immature. You are 17, not 12. I absolutely believe that you lashed out in therapy to punish your father. You wanted to hurt your stepmom and siblings to punish your father. This is not okay. I'm not saying your feelings are not justified. I am saying you are hurting everyone around you to hurt your father. And in the end, you will be the one regretting it. At least they can all say they tried. You will never have to say that because you never will try. You are so mad at your father that you have gone Armageddon on your entire family and you are proud of it. Be mad at your father forever. But at your age, you need to take responsibility for your own actions. Your behavior towards the rest of your family is atrocious. You do not have to have a relationship with them if you do not want to. However, using your very young siblings as pawns to hurt your dad is disgusting. You do not get to blame your father for that. It is on you, and you will have to live with the consequences. It is time to grow up.